Islam, Moorish, is the east, 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
His holy prophet.
Holy prophet.
Noble Juali.
Noble Juali.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors ordered to read proclamations at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Juali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Juali. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Juali. Islam. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, this is the instruction from your prophet Noble Juali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Juali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but would sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah would bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Juali. Islam. Today we're going to be listening to an interview I did with Brother Omar, listening to the Consul General people, and tying all this into the art of psychological warfare, and how these individuals keep manipulating the masses into their fictions that seem to always get them in trouble, and people aren't realizing that this is what's going on. Keep getting caught up in stuff. Go
So I
ahead.
wanted to ask, had you, are you gonna be playing their thing first and then playing ours? Or are you just gonna be playing the interview? Because wasn't there points before these other gentlemen showed up, wasn't there where they were talking about the price point plan and stuff like that? I thought that would be, not relevant, but I thought that would be,
What the thing that I just played, you mean?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that part of it?
Yeah, that's not part of the thing, but that was part of what I'm gonna play eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're gonna play obviously all that stuff first before we play the justice part, right?
Yeah. Because there's a couple
Good.
some notes I have here. I'm sorry. Now, the art of psychological warfare, Christopher Kingler. The power of Machiavellian perception. That leader can get away with almost anything if he appears a certain way in the eyes of the masses. Therefore, almost any true nature can be covered up by careful management of perception. Numerous examples show this as true in the modern day as it was in the time of Machiavelli. Interestingly, even when someone or something's true nature is exposed, many people will often still rush to defend it. Why? The person or entity in question was so skilled at using perception to appear a certain way while being another, that the false perception is deeply embedded in people's minds. People hate feeling like they have been duped, so they will do almost anything to cling to the false image they held. While doing one thing in secret, it is important to leave a trail of doing something different and acceptable in the eyes of the public. So this is with them bringing up Noble Drew Ali. You'll see the pattern of people who are espousing Moorish teachings or whatever the case is. They're going to use Noble Drew Ali. They're going to bring him up. They're going to, Noble Drew Ali quotes. They're going to use, Quran quotes. They're going to use all these things. in order to stay in line, to give the appearance that, oh yeah, well, if they mention Nobuju Ali, they must be down with it. But then we ask, well, if they're so down with it, how come they're not a member of the temple? If they're so down with it, like Omar said, how come they're not at their meeting? If they're so down with it, how come they're not paying their dues? If they're so down with it, how come, everything they got is Balenciaga or whatever, nothing Moorish? If they're so down with it, how come, and the list goes on. And then the other part of it is them mentioning Taj Tariq Bey, because they already know that he's the man right now, right? That's the Moor Avenger that as soon as his name comes up, as soon as his face is on something, as soon as his whatever, everybody's flocking there because they already know that he's the man, right? And going back to people hate the feeling like they have been duped, so they will do almost anything to cling to the false image, the false imagery, the false thing that's going on. They're gonna do whatever to make the consulate whatever seem like it's the thing, because Taj wrote a book and he talked about it, so that means that it must be the way to go, because when that's not really how it's supposed to go. That's really art of manipulation. That's really psychological ops that they're running on people in order to have this not even the platform, but in order to have these dialogues that people get involved with and people get caught up in, even when even when we have situations like them getting kidnapped, and they're still kidnapped right now, and people are still riding with it, and they're kidnapped right now, right? That should be a sign that something's going on. You know what I mean? That should be a sign that there's something off with the demonstration, right? And then you could look at that in relation to somebody exercising their right to travel, for example, and then they get kidnapped. When these things happen, we know that it's happening because the activity is so much that it's going to cause issues for the powers that be. If this activity is really, really promoted in that sense. On the other side of it, we already know that there's only going to be a handful saved. So, they don't really have to worry like that, oh yeah, this information is going to go out and then all these people are going to wake up and then it's going to mess up their thing or whatever like that. They already got their people on lockdown. Like they already have their people in the place where they want them, which is, docile, passive, incompetent, not for things that are just and right. They're more for, BS opposed to truth, right? Any comments or questions so far?
No, I was gonna say that it's like the Truman Show, where it's like at the end where he actually he found the wall, he went upstairs and then and then he had the guy who was the so-called quote unquote God's voice that was telling him,
Speak more.
that was telling him like, well, I set up everything for you here.
Yeah.
Like you're so-called safe here.
Yeah.
It's so-called dangerous out there for you because you don't know what it is. Right?
Yeah.
It's just like, like kind of relates,
Peace more. Just love. That's it. Yeah.
But
Any other comments or thoughts?
especially like especially with the perception thing. where, like, I feel like anybody who, I was related to the hood, but like anybody who grew up in the hood, you all kind of know somebody who's been on charges, and when they get out of it, now they're raking the yard, and they're doing all the housework, and they're making that image and talking to the children and trying to make this image for themselves, right? But we already know it's just playing with perception. You gotta see the constant work of what's going on.
Just
Appreciate it, man.
just back again. The art of psychological warfare. Protect your mind and protect your heart. Forget what these people are talking about. What you want to protect your mind and your heart, because that's what the psychological warfare people are going to be going at. They don't care about the body. They care about getting your mind messed up and then having you not living with a pure heart. And then that way you're more easy to manipulate, you're more easy to use, you're more easy to do whatever it is that they want to do. Protect your mind and your heart. They are the main targets of psychological warfare, more so than your physical body. By overturning the fear and hurt that your psychological warmonger inflicts upon you, you essentially win the war. Fear and pain are the primary weapons of psychological warfare. They are aimed at the primary targets, your heart and your mind. So even when we go to the trans fats agenda, and they're going that way with it, that the purest thing about children is their mind and their heart, and that's what they're going after at 3, 4 with CBCs and all this stuff that they're coming out, and porn and grade school and all this stuff. This is where they're going, and we said it before, we're going to say it again, that there would be no agendas like those if there wasn't the Negro Black colored agenda. If Negro Black colored and that dead status stuff died, then all the other fictitious whatevers that came since then wouldn't even be here, right? So when we say when we hear our people say, oh, the Moors did this and the Moors are the ones, no, it really is the blacks who did it. It was the Negroes, it was the coloreds, it was the traitors, it was the Quislings. It was them that did it, right? It was the ones who were working with the other side, the ones who had some type of narcissistic attitude or whatever like that, thinking they're better than somebody. They got something better than what Drew Ali brought. It was the people who were using the fictions in order to get the people to think that you're going to get some leeway when they already know nothing's coming from it, because they already got their yellow envelope or whatever. They already got their payout. However it is that payout comes to them, right? You protect your mind from bad suggestions and your heart from the pain that these suggestions can cause if you believe them. Psychological warfare is very successful and effective, but its use suggests that your enemy is too weak to actually attack you. He or she can only employ covert methods. So going back to the thing, who is protecting the Moorish Empire? How, or who is protecting the Moors? What entity or what government or whatever is protecting the Moors? The fact that these things are coming up shows, one, that the people aren't studying. They're just going and looking at stuff on the screen or whatever like that, but they're not, have the 20 books open and all that stuff, putting in some study time to figure out some stuff for themselves. They thrive on being told what it is, what the information is. But one of the realest ones is on YouTube. They have the video, who runs the Moorish Science Temple of America, and the bottom line is that is the people. So who protects the Moors? The people protect the Moors. The Moors are protected when they learn how to protect themselves. And we're not talking about, knowing how to use your scimitar or have arms or something like that. Right? It's about protecting your mind and protecting your heart before anything else. These are integral to you even making it to a certain stage or a certain degree with regard to this info. Because the amount of stuff that they have out there to sway people or to swing people in directions away from what this is really about, they're not even gonna make it. And again, we could just go to all the Noble Drew Ali Day pictures, and we can go for the first one to the one that we just did, and just count all the different people where they've been, where you at, where they go, how come we can't see them? No, you know what I mean? Like even with the last Drew Ali Day, how much people weren't at that we know that it's crazy that there's certain people aren't at this, because this is an every year thing that everybody makes it to, if they say that they're with this or they're part of this or whatever the case is. Right? Any thoughts, comments?
Start thinking about the question. How do we draw presents it as everything takes intimidation, I take it to yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the same aspect when it comes to the production of the Moorish. It's like we gotta do what we gotta do for ourselves, and by doing for ourselves, we do for our nation. And protecting ourselves, we protect our nation in that aspect.
Exactly.
So I wanted to add to that. Even when you go and you call the traitors, like the Butler guy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell the certain Moors in near Hamilton, if we didn't have GS going online doing what he's doing, a lot of these Moors would probably be in a rabbit hole that they shouldn't have been in.
Yeah.
To be close.
Yeah.
Do it again.
100% to be close.
So what I'm saying, a lot of Moors, are swayed from, there's a lot of people on, like you said, there's so many directions as to what this is really about, right? And, if we didn't have GS doing what he does, countering these guys, then, I'm sure a lot of Moors would just be swayed by their influence, to be,
Because even adding on to this whole energy, with the prophet, in the oral statements when they're talking about how there's someone chased the prophet around the temple with a knife, and other people did nothing.
Yeah.
Right? It shows me personally that it's not just physical, it's also just, with the heart emotionally and mentally, with the mind. Where it's like, some people just have this mindset of like, oh yeah, just let them say what they say, don't worry. But there's people coming into this that they're falling victim because they have no clue what's going on.
Yeah.
Like even me personally, there's some people that I would listen to that, I'm not gonna lie, just would talk about it. And I go and study it, and I'd be like, oh shit. I fell for like the sensationalism. Like, I fell for that, just because they said no Drew Ali and they said this, that, and the third, I kind of fell for it. I'm like, nah. You really have to question everything.
Yeah.
The prophet did say study, right? That whole question in itself, really think it like to a studious individual, that whole question in itself is a psyop. Who is protecting the Moorish? What are you talking about? Are you a Moor?
Yeah.
You know, if you're a Moor, then
Why aren't you protecting it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Protect yourself. That's like someone saying like, well, who's protecting me? You protect me. You
Yeah.
got hands. You know, you got feet. You got
He or she would have killed you already. If this was really about, get us out the way, right? They would have already did that. Same thing we were saying with Moorish militia. If they really wanted, they would have just murdered all of them and this stuff would be done with, right?
Well, but I want
Go ahead,
to
Mark.
say that I think that one of the things that we were talking about reading the Quran and how many times we read it. I mean, I think back to me creating that online thing. It took me a year and a half just to try and get that thing done. The aspect behind how your level of awareness, for example, you read it at the beginning level, you're seeing 1 plus 1 equals 2. When really when you start to read it at the junior high school level, you're saying 1 and 1 equals 11, right? So that's the next level. Then when you get to the level of the master, you realize that this guy's talking about quantum mechanics.
Yeah. It's trigonometry or something.
So, well, yes, we're talking about stuff, fractal geometry, right? So ultimately, the aspect behind this is the creating of the character, and that's why when you were talking about picking a Quran chapter, yet again, divine inter. Come on in. Yeah.
Please, bro.
The chapter that I picked was divinely prepared, not by me, but by the prophet.
Yeah.
Because it was just the chapter that I was reading today. But the ask. Sorry, what were you just saying before that? Because I sort of went off when I got into the fractal geometry thing. What was it? What was the context that you were just talking about?
You were talking about how it went from 1 plus 1 to.
No, but before that, what was it that you were saying that then I jumped in? Do you remember?
They would have got killed if they. I was talking about Moorish,
right.
yeah.
So the aspect that I start to realize is that within this book, within these great literary pieces, what this really is, and if you're reading the Quran even in the neophyte level, this is really about the preparation for the next stage.
Yeah.
Right? So ultimately, what they've understood, and we see it played out, is they can't kill us. Because if they kill us, then they've lost their soul.
Yeah.
So really what it's always been about is getting us to kill us.
Yeah.
That's why when you see what's happened, they're never the ones killing us.
Yeah.
They've
It's always our own.
gotten us to kill us.
Yeah.
Because that's the karmic debt, because there is a great, mighty spirit that is overshadowing us. And like I talked to you about before with that sniper, that man killing that person, he doesn't have his own soul now.
Yeah.
Because he's taken someone else's
Right.
life.
Which is why.
Yeah, which is just as honorable in the sight of Allah.
Yeah.
Anyways, what were we saying?
No, I was saying took his own soul. That's why he's acting crazy or whatever.
Well,
that's why he's so imbalanced and he's not straight.
But the other aspect that we've been talking about earlier about this, which is what we talked about, what it says again in the oral statements, is that we have beings that have crossed spirits. Because what we've done is we've woven two different cloths together. Yeah. We've taken the beast and we've married them to the human.
Yeah.
And so what we've got is the beast-like manifestation of that soul spirit level, which is about death. Whereas what we were talking about earlier about how each one of these groups has their killers.
Yeah.
Whereas what our problem is that we aren't killers.
Yeah.
We were about when you came in here and you needed land, we gave you land. You then said that land was mine. the land isn't yours to have like that.
Yeah.
The land is meant to be shared.
Right.
Islam.
Islam. Do not let your attacker instill fear of death in you. Even if you are never physically harmed, mental destruction can be just as disastrous for your life as physical destruction. You may develop a host of mental illnesses in response to the trauma wreaked upon you. You will never be the same. You will deal with self-delusions, hallucinations, depression, and other issues for the rest of your life. Your mind will no longer be your property, but rather the plaything of another person or persons whom you do not know. And then when we go to when we deal with your mind being a plaything for another person or persons whom you do not know, it's similar to all these same people, these pop-up people who nobody knows, and then they're giving them finance. Nobody knows, but they're buying their book or whatever. They haven't proven themselves trustworthy. They haven't proven themselves loyal to anything. All they've done is, prop themselves next to a master teacher, and then, in a year they sort of drift off, and then they take the essence of the master teacher with them, and then the people keep going with them as if they're part of the foundation, right, or the origin of this thing.
It's like you put someone on to like Taj and Dr. Lee and
Yeah.
Even Khalib Abdullah.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Yourself.
Yeah.
And then you link up with them and it's like they're watching some Nine Feathers. It's like,
Yeah.
listen, bro, you watching this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, bro, I put you on to so much master teachers and what.
So many.
I don't know if that's to test me personally or what, but it's so upsetting when you see these things.
Yeah.
And what, like you said, they have that essence. They bring that essence with them, so they give that effect, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when it comes to that, I look at it like divine planning, because when anything becomes a trend, it starts to die down.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes quick.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the people who are really about this movement, it wasn't a trend to them. You know what I mean? Like I know it wasn't no trend to me. Like I knew like, this is what it was. Some people just see this as some information system. It's like, the more is saying something, saying something cool. Like,
Yeah.
Man, for example, man didn't want to hear what I was saying, a couple years ago. But then I come back to the hood with a tax off receipt. It's like, whoa, same words. So that's what you're saying, but all because they see a discount.
Yeah.
It's like, but when I'm talking truth and honor and all that stuff, the nationality before on that, you know what I mean? They don't see that tax off trend. You know what I mean? That everybody else is on. You know what I mean? You see everybody else get the I told him about the situation I had up in Quebec or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That whole story has them all like just fascinated. They're just like, whoa, for real? Like, so you just identified yourself, and that's what it is. Like, that's what they're on. Like, you just identified yourself. And I'm like, if you can't identify yourself, you're a slave.
Yeah.
That's just common sense. It's just 2 + 2 = 4. If you can't identify yourself, you're a slave. You need some ministry to tell you who you are.
Yeah, or some court or some whatever. Yeah.
It's common sense.
Yeah.
But I would want to counter that by saying that I think we were supposed to be taking this to the hedges and the highways because we understood that people have been indoctrinated. So we can't fault them for that. We might need to fault them for when they finally get it, not taking it on. But I've also realized, just in this moment though, I'll correct myself again afterwards from the aspect that, and we've seen that, sometimes it takes people some time.
Yeah.
Right, to get this.
Yeah.
So we can't fault them, but I think the other thing, and this is what I've been thinking about the other day, that ultimately this is not about the body and the physical, because physically we're pretty much all the same, though the aspect of the melanin really affects
things, yeah.
But ultimately, really, the European has melanin racing all through him too, all in his organs. So that's not what it is. It's the soul of things. So we understand that the European will have much more of the soul of the beast in him. But that there are ones of us who are melanated who technically should have the soul and the spirit of the Moorish, but we have taken on, like he was talking about,
The idol god,
the psychological thing where we actually put a spell on ourselves and call ourselves black.
Yeah.
So at that point, then we are now in it taking on the soul
of the
European.
pale man, yeah.
So that's why we have that balance within ourselves there. So
Mhm.
so from that aspect, we can't always fault them, and we shouldn't be mad at them. One of the things in the handbook that I was writing, and this is what I was realizing, I have a couple of boys that grew up playing ball and all this stuff, and we went to watch some basketball one day, and I've been thinking about calling the man back, because, playoffs are here again, let's go sit down, and, because I always take any of these opportunities, as I'm sure you guys do, as whatever it is that we're talking about, is really about the Moorish paradigm.
Yeah.
Whatever it
Apply it somewhere.
Whatever it is, and whatever it is in life, it's about the Moorish paradigm, because even the European thing is about the Moorish one. But the deal being that ultimately the aspect behind what this really represents, which is bringing ourselves back to our state, is the thing that has lost, because we're looking at putting on some silks, they're looking at putting on some Gucci,
Mhm.
right? So this is where but what we know that the European has is fraudulent to that. So we can't, we have, from how I'm looking at it, we have to back to the point that what I've realized is that some of these people, unfortunately, they're gonna look like me, and I'm gonna wanna save them, but you may not, these people, you may have to stop hanging out with them, because part of what this movement was about is about how you're gonna have to change your associations.
Yeah.
And the people that you're with. And you're gonna have two people that you're gonna walk down, and one of them's gonna call himself black and be about whatever, and the very next guy could be his twin, and he's gonna be about being a Moor.
Yeah. And just as you said, just to cut that thought, save that, just put a pin in that. There's a Moor who we know that's in that same situation. He's a Moor and his twin's a Mason.
Yeah,
and they do not see eye to eye.
But ultimately, what we know, and I was having this just so you can show it. Took one of these guys at my work, took the man out we went to get lunch, and I'm driving around on the embassy plates.
Yeah.
Right? But I also have my travel fez in there, right?
Yeah.
So as I get in there, I said, brother, you're gonna have to excuse me, but I have to put this on. He's like, bro, that's really cool, right? Anyways, this old man, who's one of the foundations of the union I'm in, I guess the son told him about it.
Mm.
So he's like, you know what? He's like, I didn't know who you were. He called me by my straw name. He goes, I guess I gotta be worried about you because maybe the Masons are following me around right now. That's what he says. He's the guy with the flying car, right? Yeah. So obviously, but I don't think I had the Masonic sticker on that car.
Yeah.
But I guess it was the fez.
Yeah.
Right? So he goes, is it true that you have one of those hats in your vehicle? I said, you mean the fez? I go, yeah. I said, but that stuff. He goes, so what? Are you a Shriner? I said, Shriner is the advanced version of Masonry, my son, and we're all mother's son.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, I know that. I said, well, so if you know that, then you would understand that this is all about the ancient mystery schools that run the whole world and whatever. He's like, yeah, I know that. He's like, and I said, and ultimately he goes, yeah, it's about having responsibility to things. Mm-hmm. And I said, yes, it's about having responsibility to this whole aspect. Mm-hmm. So understanding that Masonry is our shit as well.
Yeah.
Like really and truly, it's the shit that we gave to them to be able to run this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, we're on the same thing. We're all talking about the same thing. Yeah. The real problem is that somewhere in there, probably due to our karmic debt, we created this being because we were too lazy to do the work that we needed to do, and this shit has come back on us. And what's really happened is we've undertaken their fact that they really don't love themselves, and we've undertaken that we don't love ourselves. And this is where we're at. Anyways,
That's love.
People say you're funny, man.
Huh?
People say you're funny. They say.
Well, no, he goes, I was going to laugh when I saw you with the fez on. And I thought to myself, if I put that fez on, you're not.
You're gonna melt. You're gonna melt immediately.
I felt bad for him because I knew if I put that shit on and walked in there, people were gonna drop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but you also have to be, what I realize is that we have to stop looking at this. They want us in that aspect of war.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where they want us.
Yeah.
If we're there, then they beat us.
Yeah.
Once, because I was working with these guys, and what happened was, just to show you, right? Because of the man, because I was working my ass off with my one hip, and the guy says, "Okay, you guys go work with Omar." And I go to work, and the two Europeans don't come to work
Chilling.
with me. No, they didn't come to work with me. I realized because they were upset that the guy had assigned them to come to work with me. Now, I wasn't looking at it.
Yeah,
as if,
yeah.
So I just sat there and worked away. They were actually looking for me. Where's Omar? Where's Omar? They didn't realize Omar was in the trenches digging his ditch by
digging
himself.
ditch, yeah.
I was mad, and people were walking by and watching me. And then finally, the same guy that I'm telling you about came over and said, "Hey," he's like, "Did Buddy come and help you?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm pissed off." He's like, "Well, you know, he was my son, same guy, almost gets pissed off about this stuff too." He goes, "You just have to work at your pace."
Yeah.
And I realized here was a European schooling me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then when finally they came over at the end, because finally the
Yeah,
guy
when
came over,
there's one ditch,
I didn't want to work with them.
Yeah.
So then I said to the guy, I said, "I don't even want to work with you." He's like, "Brother," he's like, and again, I just felt humble. He said, "Brother," he said, "you can't have hate in your heart like that." And I just like, it brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy shit, bro.
Yeah.
Crazy shit. That's how every day this stuff is.
The stuff is just, it's there. It's there, yeah. Only if you're in tune with it are you going to be able to
Absolutely.
pinpoint these
Well,
situations.
Feel it. It's
Feel
here.
it, yeah.
We're here. The prophet's here with us. Look, we don't see it every day. The prophet's right there. We don't realize the prophet's sitting right there.
Yeah.
And Marcus
and Garvey's right
on
there,
the other
yeah.
side.
Mhm.
Crazy.
Straight. Say again?
Is this Lamont?
Yeah. So as we carry on with the art of psychological warfare, chapter 8, manipulative political propaganda and media tactics. The bandwagon technique. This is a technique that appeals to the masses and makes people feel part of a movement. This type of ad plays on the insecurities of the masses and the desire to belong. So That's like with that thing of Article 4, Section 4, Republican form of government, and then they start talking about, government of the people and the people this and the people that or whatever like that. That idea taken out of the United States Constitution is directly related to how European stuff should be run and when they're in the Americas, right? Because when we go and check the cultures that were here before the Europeans came here, they were self-governing. They were doing Republican form of anything, right? The idea of democracy and republic and whatever like that is European concepts that were adopted because of them being in the seat of power. So in order for them to do stuff right, it should be as a Republican form of government. And then whoever quote unquote the people are to them, that's who the rulership are, right? Same thing with when we go to magistrate and subject, and it tells the Moors that it's the people who give their sovereign power to the leadership by voting for them or whatever the case is, right? These aspects of forms of government, our misrepresentation of those things is what creates the bandwagon technique. People just following stuff just because this guy said it, or these guys have a orange fez, so we're gonna go with them because they made a different flag and they're justifying why the red flag with the green star is not the flag. Some flag over here that they made up is the real flag, right? And then again, the same thing with the bandwagon thing is having certain individuals in the forefront to let people jump on it. Same thing that we're saying, that when you go on Church of Reawakening Minds, the highest videos are the ones with Taj in there. Everything else, ain't nobody watching those stuff. Nobody even cares to watch those, right? The testimonial technique, also referred to as the endorsement technique. These can include endorsements from political hard hitters, media outlets, sportsmen and women, and celebrities. Rami Salami was talking about one time when he went to a polite lecture, and they go through the lecture or whatever like that, and then after the lecture you have people asking questions or whatever the case is, and then he's looking at the people who's asking questions, and then those are people who came up polite when nobody was there, right? The testimonial technique. So you have your bots in the crowd, right? And then the bots are gonna say, or they did this one at one they did a black, what was it again? Something happened and they were collecting money or something like that. So, after the thing, they got the hat. Yeah, we're going to be taking donations, or whatever like that. And then, two people come up, and they drop like 500 in the thing. Man drops 500. Then they go back and sit down or whatever, and then they, go out of the hat. And then people are coming up and they're putting, hundreds into this thing because of the testimonial technique. That's their boys with their own finance. They give out the finance at the beginning. All right, here's 500 for you, 500 for you. We're gonna go up to Pickering, and then we're gonna say pass the hat. When they say pass the hat, put the 500 in there. And then everybody else who doesn't know, well, here they come. They're gonna feel messed up because, well, damn, this guy's putting 500. Least I could do is put 100 in there or something like that. If these guys are put, not even knowing that they're getting played, right? Symbolism technique. When a candidate is trying to appeal to a base feeling of patriotism, they will use all American symbols to stir the emotions. So you look at that one as when you see the consulate people say, you know, we are. Oh, it's right here. It's right here.
How long is this thing anyways, this one?
What's that?
This particular one they,
This one here, it's 2 hours 31.
so are we gonna try and trust?
No, I'm just I wrote down some some parts in it just to no, but definitely not. No, we're definitely no.
We got time.
Where the hell is this thing at? Okay, so I should have marked this shit. This is one of their habeas corpus. One of their habeas corpus. The hell is it? Okay, basically they're saying that they're consulate, but all through their habeas corpus thing, they're talking about Great Seal. They're the Great Seal this, Great Seal that, Great Seal this, Great Seal that. Same thing, using the symbolism technique because they know people are familiar with Great Seal. So they're gonna attach themselves to Great Seal, even though they're not even part of that like that. Because if they're saying that they're Great Seal, then why they gotta be Moorish consulate? If you're a Great Seal, why don't you just be Great Seal? Because Great Seal was doing extracting people from prison. Great Seal was doing right to travel. Great Seal was doing Mufti Force. Great Seal was doing all those stuff before there was even a consulate. So why not just get down with what's been doing that? What's the activity been?
Moorish consular sounds like Moorish consular.
Yeah.
Because you have the con.
Yeah, you got a con to sell it.
Because it's CON.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something to do with anything, but.
Oh, it has something to do with something. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot right there. Yeah. That's that when they want to play their little linguistics, America is Morocco, and you know the word they're the same. Yeah, okay. Well, same thing with consular then. Same thing. Consular is consular. Yeah, that's just what it is. Don't get mad. Yeah. Glittering generalities. These are statements that use vague words and phrases to influence the public. They have no real meaning. They are mostly emotionally appealing and are designed to have a positive effect on the general population. The plain folk technique. This is when politicians try to appeal to the man on the street. They may have had Ivy League educations and never known what it's like to miss out. But politicians know how to appeal to the common person. Stacking the cards. This type of propaganda may sound harmless, but it can be devastating. The perpetrator will highlight their personal accomplishments and triumphs without addressing any of their failures. They will then proceed to trash other opponents and drag their name through the mud. Right? And that's relative to this one here. And again, the stacking the cards. right? December 2012 or something. And then there's still no L, no B, no anything like that. She's still just G. That's it, right?
And even the way she's talking like those people on like those predator catcher shows. You know what I mean? Like,
After they get bite.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, after you got caught, like they'll do this whole like when they have all the evidence, like, well, it looks here that you had this run, it looks like you're on the registry. It's just like, well, yeah, you know, back in the day, they said, you know, like, okay, they might have said this, that, and the third about me, but I never did that, you know, like I was over here way out in Maryland. I didn't, you know, like tell you some detail that doesn't even matter, you know, like they'll deny it
Yeah.
before they even say it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious. The way she was talking.
Yeah. Chapter 6, the psychology of deception, influence, and domination. Deceptive tactics. There are many different deceptive tactics that the manipulator is able to use. Remember that this deception is the process of hiding information from the victim in order to reach their overall goals. The first deceptive tactic is lying. Implication is another form of deception. Implication is when the manipulator suggests something false is true, rather than outwardly stating it, right? Like what we just listened to. Omission is another option of the deceiver. This is a failure to mention something, usually a fact that is pretty important, that is true, right? Like, where's your LB if you've been in this since 2012? Unless you're still a pastor and you don't want to lose your pastor or whatever, so you're not going to say LB. Just like anybody else who has a slave or something like that out there, and they know that, hey, I can work as the straw and still get the finance or whatever. So why not? Right?
Like, even on that level, with, working with the straw, sometimes I have to tell people, it's kind of like the same thing as using the email that you know is not an email that you use, you know, like like some dummy email. So
Yeah.
why not treat the straw like as if like it's not really your identity, it's just something that you use, you know? Why would you want to attach your real de jure title to something that's corporate, that's just gonna, you know, bind you further into the BS?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. Just leave everything as it was, you know?
So you can do that, the explanation, right?
Exactly.
So,
The final form of deception is the most elaborate and often criminal form. This is known as fraud. Instead of the deceiver simply lying about something from the past, this kind of deceit involves false stories, documents, and other evidence in order to back up their lie. The deceiver will use these things in a subtle way. They would never say something like, I'm a doctor, take a look at my certificate. Or, I got this debt discharge, here's the letter from the people who initially had the debt or gave me the debt to prove that it's, there it says 00 right there on the thing. Here's the statement from Bell that I discharged the debt, the balance says 0. And it doesn't show that I made any payments, right? Fraud.
and you wouldn't even charge the next person because if you're about uplifting, you know. Right?
If it's like that, yep,
Just give out the info.
yep. Instead, they will use some subtle displays to show off to the victim. They will avoid being too pushy with their fraudulent claims because they know that doing this will make the victim feel that something is wrong with the situation. Fraud is becoming more common than ever because of the internet. Deceivers often work with professional software in order to make fraudulent documents that look realistic. They can make it really hard to tell whether you are working with someone who is telling you the truth or if they are deceiving you. And then that goes into the same thing with people buying likes, buying subscribers, buying whatever. You pay your little 50 notes, 100 notes, and then you get 10,000, you get 50,000, you get how much ever subscribers. And then people are looking at, oh, wow, I was on the live and there was 800 people on there. Well, there probably was only 6. Right.
Not even 600, 6.
Yeah.
I read it's on the same light, in the same light of that, we were saying, there was a big thing where a lot of the people, like foreigners, were coming here and they were making up these big credentials on paper,
Mhm.
and they were getting these high-ranking jobs.
Yeah.
And it's just recently that certain individuals got caught on, like they caught on to these individuals.
Mhm.
Set them back.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about like high-ranking
Yeah,
positions, like legit, like they're getting paid legit, like
Mhm.
this is, but that's not their identity.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. That's just like some years ago somebody exposed Ali Muhammad for that same stuff. He had a doctorate or something from Temple University that he used to show around. Yeah, I got my doctorate. You guys can't tell me I'm not a doctor and all this stuff. And then we go on the doctorate, like stuff spelled wrong on there. You know what I mean? like stuff's wrong, like absolutely wrong. Like, yo, you didn't read your doctorate before you freaking got it or something? You just took that stuff? Like, that's it? You just took it. Crazy.
It's just like those fraud people talk about, like, over a couple of years ago, it was give me $20, I'll give you $20 in 2000.
Yeah.
And then they go on IG and just have like big ass stacks of cash, like
Yeah.
I have it like that. They're not gonna tell you that that's their friends, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
or that's
Yeah.
everybody together, like that's actually the work fund. They have to put that back to the bank before class.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you that. But on IG it looks like I have $20 right now. I'm trying to turn that.
Try to turn that 20 into, yeah.
Turn that. Then you have the special. So you're 200 into 200,000.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah. All I need is your cash app.
that's all I need. And then every comment, every post, the comments are turned off.
Yeah, you can't even comment or
You know what I
anything.
mean? No one even question that. Just
You know they're up to something. You know they're up to something.
trust.
No, we can.
For real.
Yeah.
Like it's just basically what's happening right now is either you're proving that you're in error and you're protected by the supreme law of the land, or you're not. And or you're in the process of learning how to prove.
Was that recent or was that like before he got caught up?
Yeah, this was before.
Oh, so he called
Yeah.
his own. He called his.
Yeah,
own
yeah. This is 9 months ago.
Yeah, this is-
Yeah, 9
he
months
called
ago.
his own thing.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
So if you can't prove it, if you can't prove you're more or whatever like that, then they're gonna kidnap you. They're gonna steal your this. They're gonna steal your that. And then where they at right now? Kidnap, right?
Because they-
So-
he had a truly on truly on.
Yeah, yeah. They had the works. They had the works. Right? Playing consulate general games.
So they knew his time was coming to an end in that video, then, pretty much. Like, the way he sounded.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they set themselves up.
I feel like it's one of those where it's like I remember Sir saying like the thing about a lot of these sellouts is that they're half-wits and they can't, because they're not really part of the movement.
Mhm.
That's what's gonna make them fall on their sword.
Yeah.
Because
And that's key.
like the stuff that he's saying, it's like like me personally, like I look at that like he just basically just I don't know if it was I don't know if you already said it from the book, but it's like one of those tactics where you just kind of snitch on yourself just to kind of see who's gonna say something.
Yeah.
Right? And the team, like, and just bring up all the buzzwords of, you know, they're coming for your guns, they're coming for your house, and all that other stuff, and then you're taking your birthright and all that stuff. It sounds cool, but how can someone take away your birthright? Really?
Yeah.
That doesn't even make
Yeah.
sense. You know, like only Allah can take away your birthright. How can
Yeah.
another man take away your birthright?
And again, and then it could happen once the individuals aren't in the status to even protect the birthright. So you have majority of people, because like you're saying, they're looking at a benefit. They're not looking at nationality proclamation or whatever like that. They're looking at, oh, I can get out of, all I got to do is just put this paper, and then that's when you get into, you know, nationality cards, no headwear on it, nationality cards, just you know, or not nationality cards, paperwork coming from all these different stuff. Nothing Moorish is on the paperwork or anything like that. Just a blank page, you know, because they're looking to get something. But
You're talking about proving, you know,
Yeah.
oh, you gotta prove this instead of being, you know,
mhm,
you're not having a document to show, oh yeah, I'm this instead of actually just being.
Yeah.
Like I got to see that the other day. Like I even posted it saying that, like I had to study more to realize, like ironic that I study more. I had
Yeah.
to study more to realize that only a slave really has to argue their freedom.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like a sovereign being just is like you said, just being. You know what I mean? Just because someone's trying to hinder your sovereignty, that doesn't mean that you're not sovereign. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's one of those. It's like and he's really
Sorry.
no.
So it's like if you have to prove that you are free, then you're not even free yourself.
right,
Right?
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why do you have to prove something if you're not
Yeah.
in a state that you're proving against?
claiming, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Facts. It's like if you know you're a father and you've been there from birth, you've seen your child come out of the womb and everything.
Yeah.
So how you have to prove somebody else your father?
Yeah.
You've been there your whole life. You know? Why you been there for the whole child's life?
Yeah.
That child can tell you that I'm a father. You know?
In-depth techniques of manipulation. Projection. Projection is easy to pinpoint because it often consists of a manipulator being unwilling or unable to see their own shortcomings and avoid being held responsible for anything they have done wrong in the past. Right? So consular guys, same people who tried to claim house and all that stuff before they were consular or whatever like that, had to do 5 years. They get out, and then now they're the consul general, whoever. And so what about 5 years that you did? That means nothing? Because the same paperwork that you're giving people right now is the same paperwork that you used that got your ass kidnapped for 5 years. And then you're out here now, and again, they're projecting that they're and then they got the badge and the vest, and then they got the arms. Or if you have right to bear arms, then how come you got kidnapped? Obviously, something's wrong here. Like, obviously, that's not the way to go, right? In other words, a person using projection will project their negative behavior or actions onto another person by finding a very extended and unreasonable connection between an action of the other person and the action of the manipulator. Denial. Denial is a very versatile form of manipulation. There are many different ways that a manipulator can deny their actions or deny the actions another subtly. They can do this using a method known as diversion. Using diversion, a manipulator will refuse to give a straightforward answer to questions and instead will move the conversation into a different topic time and time again to avoid the said question. This is a way of denying the answer by not giving it. A very similar tactic to this is known as evasion. These two tactics are often confused. The difference between diversion and evasion is that while diversion intentionally steers the conversation into a different but interesting topic, evasion is more an act of giving vague and confusing responses that seem to have no meaning or are irrelevant to the current situation. So more start talking about you're not Negro, black, color, and then they start talking, oh no, straw man arguments, and doesn't matter what we call ourselves, and well, we could call ourselves what we want, because all that is the diversion and evasion tactics. Right?
Even that tactic is used a lot by politicians.
Mm-hmm.
Like even Trudeau lately, because he's been questioned by everybody nowadays. Every time he answers a question, he'll clearly divert. It'll be like for example, indigenous people, the natives, the so-called natives, they're asking questions now, and then all of a sudden they'll bring up, we'll do everything to get jobs for Canadians. It's just like, that has nothing to do with the question.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Yeah.
We're not talking about jobs for Canadians. And then when you say that, it's like he's quick with it. It's like, so you don't care about.
Hey, he's a master. He's a master.
Yeah. He's sick with it.
Yeah, he's a master.
I see his evolution.
Yeah, he's definitely a master.
Whenever people think, talk to them about more science, and they think it's religion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why are you talking about religion?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with religion. You're talking about civics right now. You're talking about geography, as a matter of fact. Somehow they say it's religion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But on that level, I feel like it speaks volumes where the people are at, as far as our people and our capacity of what we're even able to do. That they look at our people like, oh, so y'all must be a religion. It has to be a religion. Mm-hmm. It can't be nothing national or anything like that, because that's what we know you guys to be. You guys are, keep hope alive, and Jesus coming back and all that stuff. You know what I mean? And I gotta do this to get to heaven and all that. They don't look at us like, national principle. I'm standing on my square. I'm being who I am.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where even our own people look at us like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they come to a place like this, and it's just like, oh, okay, so the church is just down, the church is just over there. So we look over here, it's just like, oh, so they're just some type of Islamic mosque or whatever. Then we have to tell them it's national. It's a meeting. It's not some congregation. You know what I mean? Like, this is an actual meeting.
Yeah.
I even gotta correct the fam sometimes, tell them like, yo, listen, I'm not going to the temple per se.
Like that.
I'm going to the meeting. You know what I mean? It's a meeting, to the point they have to correct me sometimes. So I slip up and be like, yo, I'm going to temple, or you go to your meetings.
Yeah.
Like, yo, I'm going to my meetings. Exactly.
True.
But, yeah.
We'll put this question out there, and Morris could give their piece on this. Hey, Omar, hear this question if you have something to add on to it. If and when the Moors establish a government, how would it operate? Would it offer the same services as the government of Canada would, and how would it fund itself?
Were you asking me what I would add to that, or?
No, that's the question. Somebody asked that question. If and when the Moors establish a government, how would it operate? That's the first question.
Well, how does the so-called Canadian government fund itself?
Right. So then the second part of the question is, would it offer the same services as the Canadian government, and how would it fund itself? So Canadian government funds itself by taxing you to death. To death. They tax you. Right? Moorish government is going to fund itself by taxing you. It's called dues. It's called you putting in your contribution so that the nation could do whatever the nation's going to do for you. Right? Would it offer the same services? Not necessarily the same services,
yes,
but things like, if we have,
Things like hospital.
Yeah, if we have a hospital, then you might have, you're gonna have some type of health
infrastructure,
stuff or whatever,
all that
yeah.
stuff. But we would also offer things that would be, obviously healing and helpful to us. We would have maybe a ministry of family services. We would have, we would definitely be reworking the educator philology system. We would definitely not be taking money to go and kill people in other places of the world. We would be, working at uplifting our people, but like any other nation that used to doing positive things. Those would be the things, and as well as things that would be relative to national standards and to creating that stuff within a geographical sort of a geographical space.
I would definitely say the essentials when I was saying,
Yeah.
hospital. One thing personally I do different is police force. I would definitely try to localize that personally and make that something that's voted on, opposed to something that is an occupation.
Yeah, it's a point.
You know what I mean? Hired, like, known by the neighborhood, like that rowdy youth in the neighborhood that loves to fight, he has a job. He can really use that for good now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of,
Okay. I was gonna say, like, you need to encourage, like, education, healthcare, finance.
And I think a big issue too with when it comes to, what's the Moorish government gonna do? And when people come with these questions, is that they keep equating the Moorish government to what they've seen.
Yeah.
That's been de facto for the past 100 years. They keep looking at some corporate. They keep looking at Walmart and then saying, "Oh, well, is the Moorish government gonna be like Walmart?" Well, no, it's not. It's going to be what you make it. What do you have to add to it? Opposed to pointing about, well, what is it going to be? It's going to be the exact same thing, just like what we say right now, that if all these Moors woke up and came back to the truth about their nationality and birthrights, all these Europeans will go back to where they came from, and then we're going to take people who are qualified for the same seats that were right there, and we're just putting our people in them. Ministry of Health is going to be whichever Moors dealing with the holistic health stuff, he's the Minister of Health. The individual who has, all their children in the house, their wife is happy, they're probably going to be the family services people, right? The farmer is going to be dealing with the health stuff too, right? Different skills are going to require people that are qualified to do those things. Just the same way that they're seeing it as everybody else is doing it. But again, it goes back to that thing of,
I would say the way that everyone else is doing it, but we would be doing it in a de jure.
Yeah, in a de jure fashion, yeah.
And to make this thing, because remember, all of the finances and all that stuff is all based in some debt system that whatever, we would be turning this thing on its head. So, and remember the prophet said, we're going to leave the Europeans here long enough to teach you how to run the very government that we gave to them, right? And then they corrupted. So on a certain level, we would be taking back that information that they robbed from us to run this. This thing is running on our stuff. It's running absolutely corruptly and obviously with bias and malicious intent to harm and injure. So, we would be running this now just how Switzerland probably runs this. We would be working 4 days a week, where we would have, each one of us would have property, all this, whatever it is. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Ideally, a lot of, from what few people that I've spoken to, they see a utopia where it's like, you know, socially equal pay, you know, houses are the same kind of thing. And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know if that's really ideal for everybody to situate themselves, because capitalism allows people to better themselves at some degree, right?
Yeah, but remember, we all started to cut you. We also have to remember that communism, or the ideal of communism, was really, on certain degrees, a better way of living. It was just that it was corrupted. Everyone should have basic tenets that they have.
Yeah.
If you go right now in Russia, supposedly they pay for your school. They pay for your education. You have a child, they put you up in an apartment. You have 2 children, they put you up in a house. They don't let you know these things. So we have to be very careful of how, from my perspective, how again we can have, because you're not wrong in what you're saying, but I think what we have to understand is that the measurement stick that you're measuring it by has been altered.
Right. And sorry, to add on to what you're saying too, is like, yeah, communism doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing, and I guess if you get to dictatorship, then it kind of goes a little bit far to that spectrum of, like, what rights do the people actually have in their voice.
Well, then too, we look at these things from the perspective of the talking about dictators being wrong. On a certain level, the dictator, they put that in a way that this dictator is a tyrant, but also dictator is short for dictating. So if he's dictating some correct stuff on a certain level, then we might need some of these guys. I mean, this is kind of, in a sense, how England ran. Right? She's a dictator. They're not calling her a tyrant, but she's a tyrant to us. Right? They're calling her a monarch, right? But she's really a tyrant. Right? So ultimately, it's the aspects behind what these things are having been perverted. So it's not wrong, but again, we get into this stuff where we're, like Kudro's saying, well, how's this going to run? What are they going to do? You know what I mean? But yet, we're happily watching them as they're slowly choking us out here right now. Same people that they're wanting to call government these things, and how are we going to run? I would just say, most definitely, hopefully, we're going to run this
Better than
well, it has to
running
be.
it now.
It's got to be better than this.
Yeah.
Anything's got to be better than this.
Anything.
Because, like, essentially, when it comes to all forms of government, it's really our form of government. All of it, democracy, Republican, and like dictatorship or theocratic, it's all our stuff, really. I feel like to even further, like that individual who asked that question, I would even ask them a question of, do we need to learn what the difference is between the jure government and the corporate government? Because most people don't even know that difference. Like they'll look at like what's going on now, like, and like we were just saying, like looking at it like this is what it's supposed to be, and it's all just some corrupted form of what we gave them, and essentially it's all built on. Essentially, this system is built on genocide.
Yeah.
Really. It's built on people's, I would say laziness, but I can't say laziness at the same time, but because somebody's active, if somebody else is lazy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's like the system is built on, this corporate system is like built on a lot of people's passiveness, where as far as if you're to run government, I mean, in all honesty, would a lot of people be able to handle that? Because that would mean that people would have to get up and do something about their scenario.
Yeah.
Like, if they want a house or whatever, they're gonna have to get up and try to learn how to build it. You know what I mean? Learn how to actually put, saws to wood, and you know what I mean, and brick by brick together and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they have their plot of land, what are they gonna do with that?
Set of force to make changes, right?
First, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He also said back to horse and buggy days. So
There was a reason for that. Each one of us has a cell phone in our hand, right? So we have to understand that this thing, as we've seen Kudo, they have made sure at this point, because remember this, they're always in a level moving on to this. They got to try to be 2 steps ahead of us.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the karma is always trying to equalize this stuff.
Yeah.
And by putting a phone, you're sitting here listening to these conversations right now.
Mhm.
Someone on that line right now is an agent.
Probably the same one who asked the question
And not that any of it's a problem.
Yeah, it is what it
They might be
is.
actually here because they need to learn some stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And that can also be it.
Or the one with Canada saying that they don't even, like, we're not even responsible for repatriating you guys. from other nations. If you guys, if that nation's in distress, Canada basically said, we are not responsible for, like, it's not our obligation, they're saying, for taking you guys, so-called Canadians.
Yeah.
Who these guys pled, like, they pledge allegiance to this so-called Canada. Now Canada's turning around and saying,
Oh, it's too dangerous and
yes,
all this.
now we can't do this.
Even the prophet said that the European will let you down.
Let you down.
Let you down. Just let these people
European
down.
let them down, all right.
You know, like,
European
you
let them
can't,
down.
you know, it's just like, I mean, you should listen to these guys when they told you, we're a corporation.
Yeah.
There's no Canadian, no. It's not, like, there's no Canadian bloodline. Like,
Yeah.
tell people that all the time.
Yeah.
So there's no Canadian bloodline. So,
And it's a hard thing for them to accept. These
it's like, for there to be like a more, like, there's definitely a Moorish bloodline, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's different families, but it's definitely a Moorish bloodline. But as far as Canadian, people have to come to that realization.
Mm-hmm.
For real.
Oh,
You know, like, even to add to this, I don't know if you guys heard, France, they're trying to deport, certain Africans, right, from Africa.
Oh, man.
And it's funny, when I heard it, when I seen it, I remember a couple months ago that but the thing is, I remember Asir put me onto this, right? Because my mindset when I first came into this was that in reality, as far as the whole everybody comes from Africa, I looked at it as that's the Americans, right? But you already know the way words have been mixed and all that stuff. You can't really prove. It's hard to prove that nowadays, you know. So I remember Asir saying that. I think about a lot of the Africans, they are the original Europeans, right? And that's from his explanation. Right? I'm not saying this is fact, right? From what I heard, he said that that's part of the reason how they were able to divide up Africa the way they did, because these were the actual Africans, right? The people, the pale skinned people that they put in front, like those are just a proxy, you know, for everybody to look at and be like, oh, this double white man that divided everything. But let's be real, like these people can't even survive in that land. So how were they able to divide anything?
Yeah.
Right? So for them to try to say that you guys have to get deported back to, I don't know where they deported them to, right? But they're saying that they have to get up out of it. That's what they're saying.
Remember the prophet mentioned pale skin nations of Europe, and then he says nation, like European nation, right?
100%.
I'm probably like,
Yeah.
100%. Because what? We all know that the oldest universities in Europa is Moorish.
Yeah.
So that's a clear indication that we were the ones over there.
We were there. Yeah.
So Moorish been saying that for years, right? So what if these so-called French people say that, oh, they have to get deported back to like that region, France, you know what I mean? What people know as France today, right? Or Gaul. That's gonna show people, right?
you ain't seeing it now, nothing. It's only a handful of fingers left.
But I feel like it all comes together with, like, you know, like there's a lot of sellouts, like, or I just say confusion artists, kind of like rearing their head again, you know, showing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm realizing that, yeah, maybe this is all coming to that tipping point where, people are finally gonna have to start revealing themselves, who they are.
For real.
Because I remember saying this to people on the block for a lot. Why would these people, you know, say they so-called defeated us, right? And then when they went to go look for, or come to our land, right? All of a sudden they came to the Americans.
Yeah.
Right? And this whole conquest and all that stuff. That's not no accident. Like,
And then they defeated us, but then they went to defeated people to go get permission to come over here and all this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, when a lot of the Chinese people and all these other nations come over here, right? A lot of them link up with like island people. You know what I mean? A lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I always try to tell people, why are Chinese people coming to live with a bunch of slaves?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. I'm trying to adapt to them. Why would you willingly adapt to a slave? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Sure, they know that these are the natives, because they're not going to the reserves and, trying to go and link up with them
Link with them, yeah,
and
yeah.
trying to, learn their language.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to learn you guys. Listen, you guys, we know you guys are.
Probably too, because they know that they're passive.
Mm-hmm.
That too, yeah,
States,
yeah. 100%.
You say coal them into giving up like certain contracts or giving into certain contracts.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
they got the resources and the slaves don't, like the so-called slaves don't have the resources.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And Jamaicans, we're like, my people in Jamaica, like we're like notorious for like the Chinese being like, that's just, we're so ignorant, like
Yeah.
just collectively I'm talking about like, like, and then we complain about all the Chinese here and he's taxing us and stuff. And it's like, well, how about you have a nationality?
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
I feel like part of that though is deep down, it's almost like they know we're not supposed to really own anything. Either because it's gonna get taken away or they feel like it's gonna get destroyed. So it's like it's better for them to kind of go and just do it and we just purchase from them what we need, which doesn't make sense because the resources are already on the island.
Yeah.
And we have access to the whole island. Maybe just psychologically we're just thinking like, let them go do the thing, let them go build up and take control of the ports and whatever.
Because even on that level, from what I'm hearing, all them people, they're just building a lot of infrastructure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's a lot. Because I thought about seen this video called like Car Paradise or some stuff or whatever, right? Talking about how a lot of towns were I don't know how to describe. I forgot the word they used, but a lot of towns look like how downtown was, right? Everything is walkable. And, you can go from one end to the other, one end of the city to the other, just on a bike, right? As far as this suburban sprawl and the building of roads and all that stuff, that was all in plan to make everybody basically get into a box and whatever. You know what I mean? Like how cars are, the boxes. You know what I mean? Like it's rolling boxes or whatever. So it was all part of the plan to put everybody into a box. Because if you have a road that you made, you can make a rule on that road saying that, hey, you don't want no horses on the road. And we kind of have a right, in a sense, to say that. Not really, because it's not their land, but
Yeah.
they kind of co-opt people into thinking that,
acquiescence.
through acquiescence, you know what I mean? Like, I accepted the fact you're Canadian, whatever. So if they build a Canadian road, you can't put no horse on this road. Right? You better get this horse off this road. Who can use the horses? Only the constables.
Yeah.
And not to tell people what are constables, matches of the horse.
And then you go back to the metropolitan or the downtown area, you look and you're like, oh, the roads, and I can't bring my horse here no more. And I'm just wondering like what that happened. Because I just went away for a couple of weeks or something like that. I went fishing, I went hunting, or something.
Come back and everything's
It's done. It's gone.
I was thinking about all the earthquakes going on, and when the province said we're going back to the horse and buggy days.
Yeah.
And the roads, if the earthquakes hit, the roads get torn up, and that's it. Like no matter if like they're doing road construction here, like tomorrow earthquake can hit, tear up that road. What are you gonna do now? How are you gonna get around? Horse is the only thing that can go on the water. If it's
Horse
not
or-
super well, like
yeah.
deep,
Horse are walking.
Not even the subways will be freaking operable, right? Because the tracks will be torn up.
But again, that's why I say like it's almost by design that we allowed it to happen because we knew that we used to walk. We knew that those things were just stuff that we used to do. We weren't driving in cars, like sometimes back in the day, it's like, oh, you want to walk? Oh, you want to go somewhere? Just walk. It doesn't matter if I was going from Ajax to Pickering or that soccer practice somewhere. It's like just walk. Just like 10 kilometers. What are you talking about?
100%. My Luke's will force you to walk everywhere too. 100%. She'll force you to walk from, like, for example, like, we be at like Parkdale, she'll force us to walk all the way to like beaches.
Yeah.
You ain't talking about how we can make it on the right one.
That's what.
You know what I mean? Like I'm at Young Street, like, come on, let's just take the street, guys. Fuck it. You know what I mean? And it's different because we're like 7. You know what I mean? Like at the time, so I'll be at like little legs, and her with her big legs. You know what I mean? Her one step is like 2 steps for us. You
20.
And added the fact that she's walking fast.
Straight.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But
Somebody had asked, if I get accused of a crime, what treaty should be used? And the key is not to get accused of a crime.
that's the key.
That's where it's at. It's not about if you or when you or whatever. It's about don't get accused of stuff. And keep in mind that no paper is going to free you. So to say, well, I got whatever, so which treaty should I use? There's no treaty that you're going to use with criminals. They're criminals. So they kidnapped you in the first place because they're a criminal. Right?
I think that's one of the things we have to continue to realize, which I think is the schizophrenia or the psychiatric breakdown that we have been. It's like my girlfriend telling me, oh, well, if you don't like this party, then vote for someone else. The whole thing is corrupt. None of it is legal. Your mind, Taj said it in thing, the very question or your very statement reflects or exposes where you're at in this. These are a bunch of criminals. You're not going to get anything fair from these people, and what you need to do is build your own community up.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And the Prophet also said that there should be no issue with anyone. If you're innocent, let them accuse you all day long.
Yeah.
In a sense, because the accusations should not affront or upset the innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I feel like personally that should be common sense. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like even before I got into this stuff, like I remember just
Yeah, but one of the sorry to cut you. One of the things I think that we have not understood, and I work in this industry, is that is in the propaganda industry. We spend all of our time now. Each one of us has at least one screen. At least one screen. Probably, I think they were saying the average person spends 2 to 3 hours on social media. Everybody that's hat. The average person spends 2 to 3 hours on social media every day. So we're being indoctrinated with this stuff.
Yeah.
And we have to reverse that. We have to do everything we can to disconnect from that. The problem is that within 1 or 2 generations they got us locked in on this stuff.
Yeah.
So our reference points are from misguided and changed reference points to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, doctored stuff. Yeah. I was going to read this. Cynicism. This is chapter 3. The greatest exponents of the art of psychological warfare. Cynicism helps to frame the world in a realistic way. People are out to get you, and they want to stop you from accomplishing your goals. Think about it. There are not many people who are actually just in the world. Justice is a concept that is very fluid, and it is rarely placed on the right people. The world is filled with predators, people who want to take advantage of other people. The world is filled with con artists, scams, mind control, brainwashing, and darkness.
And one of those examples just liking. There's a lot of people who are very ditzy. Like, no disrespect to them, but they're very I think it's because of the phones that contribute to that factor.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are very ditzy because usually if you see something coming towards you, you have that notion to either just pay attention to it and move out the way or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or at least pay attention.
Yeah.
Some people don't even have that mindset to even pay attention.
Yeah. The attention span is not there.
100%.
And then mad. They're mad at you. Riding on the grass, they're mad at you before they get out the damn way.
It's hilarious when you're driving, when you're actually you're riding the bike slow enough that you know they can respond to you,
Yeah.
and then you driving slow because they looked at you 1 second ago. They think you, well, I don't know what they thought, but you go up to them now, you see you, and it's just like,
Yeah.
you scared them. It's just
Terrified. Terrified.
like, the whole time you were saying, you're ringing the bell, you're saying, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, you get up close.
Yeah. Yeah, those masks made people lose some brain cells. Yeah.
100%.
So we just had justice, so we're just gonna play this thing. I don't know if it's gonna come through for the chat more, or for the online, but we're gonna be posting it up. So if you can't hear anything over there, just bear with it for now.
What, even the bus?
Wow.
You had that Quran chapter, Omar?
Yeah, chapter 6.
This is Moorish chapter 6. Life and works of Jesus in India among the Muslims. Life and works of Jesus in India among the Muslims. A royal prince of India, Ravana, in the south, was met at the Jewish feast. Ravana was a man of wealth, and he was just, and with a land of Brahmic priests sought wisdom in the west. When Jesus stood among the Jewish priests and read and spoke, Ravana heard and was amazed. And when he asked who Jesus was, from whence he came, and what he was, Chief Hillel said, "We call this the day star from on high, for he has come to bring to men a light, the light of life, to lighten up the way of men and redeem his people of Israel." And Hillel told Ravana about the child, about the prophecies concerning him, about the wonders of the night when he was born, and about the visit Magian priests, about the way in which he was protected from the wrath of evil men, about his flight to Egypt land, and how he then was served with his father as a carpenter in Nazareth. Ravana was entranced and asked to know the way to Nazareth, that he might go and honor such a one as a son of Allah. And with his gorgeous train, he journeyed and came to Nazareth of Galilee. He found the object of his search engaged in building a dwelling for the sons of men. And when he first saw Jesus, he was climbing up a 12-step ladder, and he carried in his hands a compass, square, and axe. Ravana said, "All hail, most favored son of heaven." And at the inn, Ravana made a feast for all the people of the town, and Jesus and his parents were the honored guests. For certain days, Ravana was a guest in Joseph's home on Marmion Way. He sought to learn the secret of the wisdom of the Son, but it was all too great for him. And then he asked that he might be a patron of the child, might take him to the east where he could learn the wisdom of the Brahms. And Jesus longed to go, that he might learn. And after many days, his parents gave consent. Then, with proud heart, Ravana with his train began to journey toward the rising sun. And after many days, they crossed the sand and reached the provinces of Orissa and the palace of the prince. The Brahmin priests were glad to welcome home the prince. With favor, they received the Jewish boy. And Jesus was accepted as a pupil in the temple of Jagannath. And here he learned the Vedas and the Manic law. The Brahmic masters wondered at the clear conceptions of the child, and often were amazed when he explained to them the meaning of the law. Islam. So one, just like we're told, in all seats of learning, we should sit in order to get whatever knowledge needs to be got from there. Right. Also, the idea of going to all these different places to go learn just shows, and not even that, as a child he wanted to go, but people were so inspired by where he was at as a child that they said, okay, well, if he knows all that, then we need to bring him to come learn our stuff too, right? For certain days, Ravana was a guest in Joseph's home on Marmion Way. He sought to learn the secrets of wisdom of the Son, but it was all too great for him. It's the same thing that we're dealing with people right now, that they don't want to learn Noble Juali stuff. They want to go learn from this guy over here. They want to go learn from that guy over there. Why is it? Because Noble Juali presented everything in such a simplified form, but everything is advanced. Everything is bigger than what you really think that it is, right? It goes deeper than where you expected it to go. Like we were talking about earlier, that we can go through this book numerous amounts of times, and every single time is going to be different lessons, even though you're reading the same stuff over and over again. Same thing with, like we're talking about with the 101 questionnaire. You read through them, you get certain keys. Now, is that part of the spell of having this? You know what I mean? That, you know, when you read it once, you're gonna get something. You read it again, you're gonna get something else. You know, there's a lot of literature that we indulge in that doesn't do that. You're not getting the same thing. Whatever it is, that's what it is, and then you put it down. You're done with it once you get it. And also the idea that them knowing that he's Jewish, but then he's going to learn from the Brahmins, with which that's not something Jewish, right? And the fact that they're accepting him in from that level, you could see how the corruption happened with all the religions that we got today. That those ones can't talk to those ones, and their God is better than these people's God and whatever, when all of it is the same lessons, just broken down in a different degree for the people who it was meant for, right? Any other thoughts?
And the fact that the Jewish boy wanted to go learn from the Brahmin.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, like today, which Jews you know, the only Jews
Yeah.
want to come over here.
You want to go learn from somebody else.
Right.
Yeah, they shoot that stuff down ASAP. Torah, and that's it.
But also, I look at that and say that that's just another example of Islamism. To, you know, be a Jew and then want to learn from a Brahmin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a moment?
Yeah, so unfortunately what happened was when you had asked me what chapter, I realized because this morning I was doing a different process in our chapter. It wasn't the wrong chapter, it had preceded the chapter that I felt, because what we've also understood is, we'll read a chapter here, this is a book. So it's about the whole thing, right? So where it was actually chapter 5, and it starts from verse 11, and what it was, and I thought that this was relative to us and about how we need to continue, and this ties in with everything we're talking about. And it talks about, first of all, him going in and disputing with the doctors of law, which is what we've been doing here. But then it says, and then he went forth with his parents on their way to Nazareth. And when they reached their home, he brought with Joseph as a carpenter. So Joseph, who's Joseph? His father, right? So that would probably be analogous to Allah, right? So certainly, one day as he's bringing forth the tools for work, he said, "These tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind, where things were made of thought and where we build up character." So this is what was I was hoping to impart to us. We use the square to measure all our lines, to straighten out the crooked places of the way. So again, this relates to everything as well as us, and then I was going to be asking us, can we see within ourselves what parts do we need to straighten out? Because we're supposed to be at a 45-degree angle, right? We use the square to measure all our lines, to straighten out the crooked places of the way, and to make the corners of our conduct square, right? Then it says we use the compass to draw circles around our passions and desires to keep it in the bounds of righteousness. How many of us, and I was likening this to myself in terms of some of the things that I engage in, on a cleanse right now, and understanding that a lot of the stuff that we do, which was meant to be in a ritual form, we're doing in a very gluttonous form. Certain things, all of these things we can talk about, right? And to keep them in the bounds of righteousness. So this is about the building of the character, which is, remember, the stepping stone to the next step. Because it's about the purity that we live here. The Nazareth was not supposed to have fiery drink, to not have the razor touch his head. We're all here with our beards and our stuff, but then we're all going to do other stuff, right? And then it says we use the axe to cut away the naughty, useless, and ungainly parts. And this was some of the stuff that I've been focusing on. What stuff do I need to cut out of my life? Absolutely cut out, right? And to cut away the naughty, useless, and ungainly parts and make the character symmetrical. We use the hammer, and this part again, to drive home the truth and pound it until it is part of every part. So that is the Moorish divine and national movement, where everything is the Moorish divine and national movement. There's nothing apart from that. We use the plane to smooth the rough, uneven surfaces of joint and block and board that go to build the temple for the truth. The chisel line, the plummet, and the saw all have their uses in the workshop of the mind. And then, so I thought it was over then. And then this ladder with its trinity of steps: faith, which is after belief; hope, which we know is what we all have; and love, which is one of the principles. On it, we climb up to the dome of purity in life, which is the first step that we get to before we get to the love. Because first we have to create the purity within ourselves to then receive the love, the David of the life, right? And on the 12-step ladder, again, now he's talking about astrology. So then it's about moving through the gates. On the 12-step ladder, we ascend until we reach the pinnacle of which life, this life, is spent to build the temple of perfected man. So in that little section there, he's explained everything we need to do.
Mhm. Islam. And as well, when it's talking about the building, just as he's saying with the different stages as we go through, use the square, use the compass, use the axe, once you do that, then you build a temple for the truth.
Absolutely.
And then you build the temple of perfected.
Then when you've created the mold to make the next mold,
then you build the temple
really
of
the next mold.
perfected
So that's
man.
where I always see us as deep feeling that because we're Moors now, it's all solved.
Yeah.
What I realized, and that's what I was talking about before, way in the beginning, about cutting out some of these brothers that I, was lining around with, that's about having to have different associations.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be lining with these guys anymore.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of these people that we want to prove stuff to, or we want them to come in, it's not going to be about them. So it's really about your family here.
Yeah.
This is the new family. We want to bring our boy in that we used to go play ball with, but we've taken the knowledge to him. He may get it at a certain point. You can spend your time on it, but it's really now about cutting those things within yourself. It's about smoothing those rough edges. It's about encircling the things that we know that we do that are desirous to certain levels, that we need to keep them within. And then and that's where all the other literature comes in about prudence and temperance, right? Mm-hmm. So those things. But then after all of that's done, then we got to ascend the 12-step ladder, which is if whatever gate you're in, you've now got to perfect all those other gates. And then once you've perfected that, then your physical self leaves, and then you're on the soul plane, where the cherubim and the seraphim are there to help you to fight all those unnumbered foes. But victory is guaranteed because Allah is there with us.
Mm-hmm. Islam.
So yeah, that was the part that I had touched me today.
Yeah.
That I thought was, but then the part that the reading for me today was the sixth part. But then again, it spoke to everything as well.
Yeah.
Because it spoke to Yeshua, and that's why I say this is one connected thing, but absolutely every part of it. Every part makes the bolt on,
part, yeah.
But every other part is still the arm, the leg, the head, the whatever.
Mm-hmm. Islam. Any other thoughts on chapter 5?
Even the part talking about we're going to face a unnumbered amount of foes, but victory is guaranteed because Allah's with us.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not in that part, but that's in the creation and fall of man. But as I said, it was all interwoven, and all of this was part of it.
Yeah.
But each one of those parts, as I said, I might not see that again when I read that again. Probably I will, because it's now become part of me. That's the part that's been pounded in. But there are other parts within that speak about when he was, we're all there debating with people. We're all debating with these doctors of the law.
Yeah.
But ultimately he left that to then go and work with his Father to protect himself, which is really what the task is. And that's where I see a big part of our issue is as well, because we're out there immersed in all this muck and things. So we could spend our whole life trying to convince all these people of stuff. That's not really where this is at. It's about perfecting ourselves so we can uplift our nation.
Yeah, and in protecting and getting yourself better, then you can get everything around you better.
Well, once we
starts
do that,
with self. Yeah.
Once we do that, we change the environment that we're in, and then we perfect everyone else around us, which is what Yeshua did. And
a key point too that you said that The guards replied, yes, he is in the temple, now disputing with the doctors of law, because, you know, he was about his bigger father's work.
Yes,
But then, you know, the little father going and doing the carpenter stuff and all that stuff is just as important
absolutely.
as the work of beating up all the doctors of law who are committing a fraud in the temples and all that.
Absolutely. And speaks, I think, to what we've talked to about before, which is what we have, which is what colonizers done to us, which is to break our situations down where our father should be here teaching us. As I said, I can't remember the last time I talked to my father.
Yeah.
How many of us talk to our fathers? You know, at the end of the day, that was some of the stuff we have in terms of this feminine thing, which is what we all are. The father figure, which is really lost, has left us, is really the part. That's that part for us males that teaches us how to have that character, which we don't have. And then, as I said, as I was liking this today, Del Curry's son is Steph Curry, right? Better than his father.
Yeah.
But then I was saying, if my father's a dope dealer, then what do? Am I the better dope dealer or am I the better pimp? Or without that father, then I don't have any of that.
Yeah.
Because those things are the things that I have within myself, which are the things that have come from him. Because I was thinking about this the other day, when the aspect about how they were saying that the woman didn't need men to make babies back in the day. She just created them. But ultimately, within the fall, where the masculine essence, I started to key into that, what the woman did was she took those essences and wove them into the character that she was making. So each one of us has our father in us. But if we don't know our father, then those things are lost.
That's a dormant.
Dormant.
Yeah.
And then in fact, on the other end, which is what I think we were listening to earlier, was about, this was on a Tom's thing, or maybe it was on the Secret Society, about the aspect whereby they've taken the energy, which should be positive, and then what you're doing is you're emulating your father's wavering and
incomplete self.
nature,
Yeah.
which is gadding about or doing all these things.
Yeah.
But it's all there for us, and at the end of the day, it's not about finance. The finance comes second, but they got us tied up with this, and that's what this COVID is, that's what's pressuring us here, and that's where we're at, so.
Islam. Any other comments, questions?
Oh, you weren't gonna play that last one, were you?
Which one? What last one?
The breaking news one? I guess you couldn't really.
Oh, no. That's a little too much.
But I thought,
Too
you know
much.
why I thought that was poignant,
Freaking-
because it absolutely wraps everything up,
Yeah.
right? Because it shows you that everything he was about absolutely is fraudulent.
Yeah. But what he's talking about is the kidnap video that they uploaded when they actually got kidnapped, and then them still being locked up right now.
6 months later.
All that consulate extract people from prison and all that BS is some BS. It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that with criminals.
You know, like the government, how they set up a PSYOP, they set up some sort of like strategy every so often, like
Yeah.
4 months.
Yep.
It's the same. I think like it's the same thing with this Moorish paradigm.
Mhm.
But you know, like
Every-
so
yeah.
often there's these
Yeah.
agents or something that
Yeah.
comes out, or something, you know,
Yeah.
got all this attention on it. Like, what was it for?
Yeah. I don't know what the time frame is, but I think
I also think though that there's another aspect to it, and Kudra and I were discussing this earlier, that one, for sure, to me, the first thing I'm thinking is COINTEL operation. The next thing though I'm thinking is absolutely Camry. Whether Camry as an example is COINTEL, or whether he's a guy who thinks that this information, or he's using this information to make himself the Dark King, right? Where he's extracting tens of thousands of dollars from people on some nonsense, but really the stewards, the European, they're going to haul that guy in.
Yeah.
They're going to come and take
worst
him
come to
out.
worst, yeah.
Right? Same thing with Jamal and those guys with the guns. You're crazy. We're running this shit with guns. You ain't going to come in here and run shit with guns. Even though everything's right exactly what they're doing. If they were about being right and exact, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Mhm.
So we can't be expecting them, and that's why I say to us, we can't expect these people to be about law.
Or rights
Or rights,
or
or
anything. Yeah.
Oh, the lawyer's this and they're not doing this. It's crazy. We're nuts. This is again the secondary, third levels, and that's where again, connected to chapter 5, you gotta cut that thing out of your thinking. That thing, you gotta take an axe and cut that out of it. These guys are a bunch of criminals. That's it, plain and simple. Feigning running government.
Mm-hmm. Islam Mars. So we're gonna be doing our getting back to our meeting for next week. This was just we had listened to this thing in the week and just thought it was funny to just revisit some of this thing with this psychological warfare. And so we'll be back to meeting next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
I got a notification from the people from
For that funding thing you're talking about, that's correct?
from the lady
Yes.
from the Osgood Law Society. They're finally opening up their they're finally opening up the tour thing in a couple of weeks, so I will look to
I thought you said it was only virtual.
yeah, but she, remember I told you May 8th, right?
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
then I emailed her back saying, what did you mean that this thing is open? And she said, yes, it is. So,
Is that next weekend?
yeah, but I'm not saying May 8th from the perspective of that's when we're going. I'm saying it's gonna be open from then on. So what we wanna do is, at a certain point though, I'm sure it's gonna be a Monday to Friday kind of thing. I don't know if there, at this point too, whether, Cujo might say, whether there's any even relativity to going there. But I just think obviously that's our stuff as well.
I don't know if you heard, but they add on to that next weekend to celebrate the King's coronation. I don't know, I told you yes about it, but they have a free cultural admission to all the cultural sites. That's next weekend. So I don't know, you mentioned May 8th, that's next weekend, right? So I don't know if that has something to do with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, to a certain degree maybe, but I mean, more importantly, what you pick up is the aspect that they're obviously timing the opening of society again with this king coming up.
Coronation.
So you can see that this is.
You know what they doing?
Saying all the cultural sites.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be interested in offering my energy on that particular.
That day, yeah. They'll be vampiring on that day. Peace, Mars. Face the east. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah, my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
My salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
Through a holy prophet.
Holy prophet.
Noble Juali. Islam. Islam. Peace, Moors. Yes, sir.
No.